called Tempting Faith, that President Bush's top political strategist dismissed and ridiculed evangelical supporters in private while embracing them in public. By the way, the author of that book, David Quo, will be on Hardball this Tuesday. Did the Bush administration use religious conservatives to win votes and then make fun of them in private? Tony Perkins, the president of the Family Research Council. Tony, it's great to have you on. You're usually sitting in the room with me here. Where are you right now?
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Well, let me ask you, out in the heartland out there, do people now sense, because of this new book, that the cultural conservatives of this country, who really gave the Republicans their margin of victory, were misused, were taken advantage of?
Well, the book's not out yet. Those that are in this city, in the Beltway, that are aware of the book, look, they understand this is politics. We know what goes on. There's give and take. But also, you have to question the timing of this. It's not another one of those kiss and tell books that comes out right before the election, which makes the message suspect. But I will say, I think there is a thread of truth in it. But it's not without gain. I mean, the evangelicals understand that they're not always welcome in the administration, or in the Republican Party for that matter. But we've gotten quite a bit, I would say, in the last 6 years under this president that are priorities for us.
Like what? List some of your gains with this coalition.
I will, absolutely. I mean, in the last, since 1973 in Roe v. Wade, the two biggest pieces of pro-life legislation have been signed into law by this president. The ban on partial birth abortion. We've also had the Unborn Victims of Violence Act signed by this president. And two Supreme Court justices, which we were supportive of on the bench. You know, remember, there was a nomination in between Roberts and Alito, which we did not like, and was pulled back. And now we have two strict constructionists on the courts. Those are not minor issues. So I think the evangelical community is maturing in its political involvement. They understand it's give and take, and I guess some could describe this as a marriage of convenience. But it's not without gain.
What is your feeling about suburban Republicans from the Northeast, people in the Philadelphia suburbs, the New York suburbs, who tend to be economic Republicans? They like lower taxes, to be blunt about it, and they don't really have strong feelings about abortion rights being outlawed or opposition to gay marriage or whatever. They're for stem cell research funded by the federal government. It seems like the world I grew up in, the sort of the city, suburban, right on the edge, where most of the people tend to be secular in their politics. Doesn't it bug you to be in bed with them politically?
Well, I mean, there's I guess, a give and take. It's advantageous for them and it's advantageous for us. But I think, Chris, where we stand right now, I do think the party is at a critical moment because of what's been happening in the last couple of weeks, the revelations of Foley. I think people are wondering, has this big tent strategy led to a three-ring circus? Is this really what we want to be a part of? And I think as this maturity takes place, social conservatives are weighing the issues, and you and I have talked about this before. Their loyalty is to the issues, and when the party deviates from that, they will deviate from the party.
Do you feel that your values are so strong that on sexual matters that you'd be very uncomfortable hiring gay people to work with you?
Well, I've worked in the past.
No, hire them yourself and say, you'll stake your reputation on somebody and say, it's a good person, I know their orientation, but I want them to work for me. Have you ever made a decision like that?
No, I've not made it. I mean, I've worked with them.
Well, now we know that the House leadership does make those decisions on occasion, maybe frequently. Maybe they don't make any discrimination at all about sexual orientation. Well, does that bother you?
Well, no, I mean, there's a difference. When we talk about someone who has a homosexual orientation but not homosexual behavior, there is a distinction between the two. When those are acting out in the homosexual behavior and pushing an agenda that follows with that, then that obviously is a problem. It's incompatible with the family values issues. Those issues are brought up, and I think people are sitting back and they're saying, wait a minute, this can't be the party of Foley and friends and of family values. Now, I know there's all this talk about how this is going to impact the election. I think it really boils down, and I think you're familiar with the statement, all politics is local. I think it was one of your bosses that said
Sure,
that.
but, that was Tip O'Neill's slogan. But in a national election like this, I think everyone's paying attention to the Foley mess. Everyone's paying attention to the Iraq War. Everybody talks about that stuff.
They do, Chris. I've been in 6 states in the last 10 days. And when we talk to social conservatives, I think they are very concerned about this issue in the macro of what it means for the party and the direction of the party. But when they look at their individual races, when they've got either an incumbent who has a strong record and is talking about these issues, they're with them. And I believe we're not going to see the enthusiastic turnout we saw 2 years ago.
Are you still, I'm sorry to rush, you're running out of time. Are you still standing with Denny Hastert as Speaker? You still like him as Speaker? You want him out of there?
No, I want to get the facts. I want to know who knew what and when and what they did or didn't do. And I think it's premature to take out anybody, because then I do not think we get to the bottom of it, because people say it's been resolved.
Simple question, Tony. If the Speaker knew about this mess with Mark Foley before he said he knew about this Friday a week ago, would you think he should have to leave?
Yes, if he knew about it and he didn't take actions for whatever reason, whether it's political, out of fear of backlash, and he didn't move to protect both the integrity of the party and more importantly, to protect these children, then yes, I do think he needs to go.
Do you think he was overly protective of a member he knew to be gay and felt that he had to handle him with kid gloves? That was Mark Foley.
That's one issue that's been raised. Another issue that's been raised by another news agency is that there's this network of homosexual staffers that protected Foley and did a disservice to the Speaker. I think we should know, and I hope that through the investigation process we will know which is the truth. Is
that what Denny Hastert was talking about when he said at that press conference the other day that I believe what they told me, but I want to know under oath what they didn't tell me?
I think so. I think he is beginning to question maybe some of his staff what they didn't tell him.
Thank you very much, Tony Perkins. David Quo, by the way, the former White House official I mentioned who worked on the Faith-Based Initiatives Office and wrote this new book, says the president's, by the way, political advisors